Okay, so in the ASENSEI Speaker Series, the goal here is that we invite exceptional individuals from the worlds of sport and business and technology to share their journey with us. And it kind of occurred to us that we have some incredible people in the orbit of ASENSEI, both in sport and business and technology. And so we should use the opportunity to kind of have a chat with them in front of the team. So my hope for this speaker series is that we all get the chance to meet and speak with some incredible guests, to have them tell their stories, to hear their learnings. And the goal is that we inspire our thinking as a team, but also as individuals as well. So I want to play a short video, and then we'll have the privilege of introducing ourselves to Eric Murray.
My rowing career has been amazing. Just like had the opportunity to go to 4 Olympic Games, win World Championship titles, and yeah, just set a legacy in the sport.
I rowed for the New Zealand team from the senior team from 2006 up until 2016 Rio Olympics. 3 Olympic Games all with Eric, 1 in the 4 in Beijing, and then 2 Olympic Games in the pair. So yeah, had a great run in the sport, 11 years in the senior team, and to come away with 2 Olympic gold medals and 8 world titles, I would have never have dreamed that would be possible starting out. So yeah, I've had a great time and met a lot of great people, and a lot of my best memories are part of the sport.
Well, I think as a rower, you sort of get that recognition for the legacy you've set in the sport, and probably the way that we've presented ourselves as well. So we've won a lot, and we've had a great reputation for our results, but probably our sportsmanship and stuff as well, and the way that we've portrayed ourselves as rowers has probably set us apart, which has given us the award.
I think just looking at the list of previous Tommy Keller Medal Award winners, and those were the guys that I looked up to in terms of what they'd achieved and the way they rowed. You know, the great British crews, obviously Redgrave, Pinsent, legends of the sport, and then on from there there's some of the Australian crews with Drew Ginn, James Tompkins, guys that we really modelled how we rowed the pair. They were great pair rowers, and we looked up to them and how they rowed. So to, I guess, have our names now up beside them is really something quite special.
We kept winning because we kept our standards high in training. So Hamish was probably the biggest driver, just making sure that we were training hard all the time. And we just didn't let our foot off the gas. So we used to fail a lot in Karapiro, but it would mean that we'd come to racing and we wouldn't fail. So just keeping our standards high, and just trying to go out there every time and win, and not look at it as we're defending any titles. It's literally every single race is a new race, just try and go out there and win.
I think what motivated me throughout my career was wanting to be the best that I could be. I think one of the things I love about rowing is that the results really reflect the effort you put in, and knowing that if you put the effort in on a daily basis, you will get the result you deserve. And I really like that strong correlation between work and results. So I think just going out and being competitive against the best in the world, and knowing on a given day that you are the best at something at a point in time, and a pursuit that you've put a lot of effort into and a lot of other people have as well, I think was very motivating for me.
Great video.
I know, right? Had you been yelling at Hamish the day before? What happened to the
No,
voice?
it was like the one time I went on a plane over to Switzerland, and like you get a cold on a plane, and then everything just gets on top of you. And then we were just talking, and as I was talking more, I just got like more and more. I lost my voice, and at the award ceremony, I basically just plucked up to say some thank yous, and then I was like, Hamish can do the rest. Got no more voice.
I felt a little bad. I felt a little bad picking that video, but it's just such good content, and it gives us a lot to get into. So I thought I would go with
No,
it.
no worries.
So listen, again, welcome, Eric. So when you first started working with ASENSEI, I thought the least I could do was, buy your book and read your book, The Kiwi Pair. And I went through it a little bit again for this interview, and so I remember that you played a lot of sport as a kid, and you got yourself into rugby, and rugby's kind of to blame for your career in rowing. So can you just start there from like, how did you get into rowing? What was the path to getting into rowing?
Like rowing is not, I would say, a super glamorous sport. But I was wanting, I don't know, like I sometimes think about it, I was like, I had a passion to try and be good at something. And then you look at how can you be good by adding bits and pieces in. So I was like, well, in summer, because rugby is obviously a winter game, I was like, I need a sport that's going to get me fit. And so the first year I did rowing, I came back in and I'm in the top team in our school, and I'm going really fit. I'm running fast, like everything about it's great. So I was like, this is good. I'll do it the following year. But then I actually got better at rowing than I was at rugby. So then I had to just change tack, right? And so it was just like, oh, okay, plans slightly changed. And then that just took me down the pathway of rowing, being like, let's give this a whirl. And then, one thing leads to another. You find a pathway that you think is going to lead you down, a rabbit hole more than anything. And then just committed to finding the best opportunities, the best places to be, moved down to Christchurch. Like, it was just, if I wanted to be good at what I need to be, I was just figuring out what needs to happen and what I need to bring around me to get to that point. And then, one thing leads to another, and then you're in Karapiro, and then carry on. And next thing you know, 4 years out of school, I'm going to the Olympic Games. So it was sort of, I sort of think it's slightly quite rapid in the rise, but at the same time, I was only 22. So you think about it and you're like, well, actually, it's not that long. And then, it was just like, right, I'm pretty good at this. And then now it's just focusing on like, how far can you actually take it, and what are your limits? What is your benchmark? How much improvement can you get out of yourself? And that's basically the track that I took down.
That's awesome. Did you miss rugby, or once you discovered rowing, was it like were you hooked?
Well, it's like anything, right? It's when you find something you're like slightly obsessed with. You basically eat, sleep, and breathe. Which sometimes, obviously, being obsessed with certain things ain't great. But you just think about it on a daily basis, and what can I do better today than I was yesterday? And that's sort of one of the ethos that we took in through our whole period. You quite often hear people say, can you just be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday, in some way, shape, or form? And as rowing was one like that, it was like just these minute little things that you can do better. And when you add those up over 365, you started here and now you're up here. And that's basically what we followed, and you try and do in life to a degree, because that was the only way we knew we were going to get better, was just the little increments that were going to make us go faster.
Can you talk about, and so I love kind of, we talk about, Clive Woodward and critical non-essentials, and David Brailsford and performance, aggregation of marginal gains. It's something that kind of runs through business and runs through sport. And I love telling people about the little things that others have done to make a difference, like the England rugby team wearing skin tight rugby so nobody could grab a hold of them. And, they kind of got mocked for it one year, and then everybody was wearing the same uniform the following year because it worked. So what were some of those marginal gains for you guys? Give me some more anecdotes from my meetings.
Yeah, for us, in terms of it, it was, like we're doing a repetitive action. I'll give you some figures. We're doing 10,000 Ks a year, 40,000 every Olympic cycle. It's sort of 250 Ks a week. It's just a daily grind of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of strokes to try and perfect something. And it's looking at the outside of, like, you can still do your job, which for us was rowing, but what are the other things that you can bring inside of that, you know, like recovery, nutrition, physiology, weight training, all of that. What can you package around this stroke that's going to make that better? Because at the end of the day, if you get your stroke better, is it the boat? Is it, you know, we tried different oars, we tried different setup, like on a daily basis. Like, okay, let's use this for 2 weeks. Did it work? Yes. And that was the way that we found like little gems until we got to a point, and it was sort of probably around 2013, 2014. So we'd already done an Olympic cycle where we were like, you know what, I don't think we need to continue changing anything, because we've tried the last like 6 months and nothing's worked. Right. So whatever's going well now, let's just make sure that that's done to the absolute best of our ability. And that was it, you know, knowing that you want to be very well and good like every day, but it's targeting when it needs to be there. And as you said in that video, you know, we would do things and make sure it was wrong. Okay, that didn't work. Shit. Okay, how to make sure I don't make that mistake again. And then by the time it came around to become your competition, you're ready, you're focused, and it's not going to go wrong. And that's basically the idea is making sure that when it counts, you're not making those mistakes, you're ready, you're on form. And that's why we were so successful, because we knew not what to do so that we didn't make those mistakes when it came down to the crunch. That was it.
That's awesome. And so you keep saying we, and for those on the team that didn't follow, that weren't born in 2012 maybe, or that didn't follow rowing, you know, I think, you know, you were part of an eponymous team, right? You and Hamish were known as the Kiwi Pair, and that's the title of the book. And I think one of the things I loved about the book when I read it was actually the way it was written. It's almost like chapter by chapter, you're interleaving each other's stories. But they're two different stories. You're kind of two different kids from two different backgrounds. But then when you come together as a team, you just figure out how to just, you know, I know it's a little bit of a cliche in rowing, but like, you know, work as one or move as one. Yep. So can you tell us a little bit about you and Hamish? And I kind of want to focus on the differences, because I think that's something, as our teams come together, you know, yeah, as our team comes together, there's lots of different characters and behaviors. And I think there's a lot to be learned from how you and Hamish came together. So yeah, just tell us about
yeah. there's two sides to that as well, because ultimately Hamish and I were, I guess, your front men, but behind us there's a whole nother team of people supporting us. You know, strength and conditioning trainers, physiologists, psychologists, you know, nutritionists, like high performance manager, coach, trainer. You know, like, man, the numbers carry on. You know, logistics manager, everyone had their part to play. And that's, you know, everybody knew what part and what role they were doing in us being successful. So even though we're the only two people that win like a gold medal, there's so much support behind that, which helps us. You know, they're helping other people at the same time do a very, very good job. But that was, you know, that there's a lot of people behind the victories that we had. The differences between Hamish and I, when we're sitting in the boat, we are two completely different personalities. And we knew that very, very early on. Not only did we have a 4-year age gap and an experience gap when like Hamish first started rowing, when he came into the team, just the people that we are. Like, I'm an eternal optimist, you know, she'll be right, like, just have a good time. He's a pessimist, you know, he's got a degree in finance. I don't know if that means anything. But of course, he's just like, things, you know, this could go bad, this could whatever. So we just made sure that the differences between us, we could work at. And one of the main things that we had was, like, we didn't really have a hierarchy in terms of our combination. You know, and I look at it sometimes and I think, you know, yeah, there's hierarchy and structure, you know, in business organizations, but at the same time, everybody's got a voice. Everyone wants things to work well. So if we brought any ideas to the table and Hamish is like, I don't like our setup, I'll be like, what do you think we need to change? And we look at it, talk about it, experiment about it. You know, and if I said, look, our training's not right, I think we need to be doing more speed work, we'd sit down about it and talk about it and whatever. Because if we didn't have that open mind and that collaboration between us, we knew that it wasn't going to work. You know, you see a lot of like crews and especially athletes and that. When you have an overpowering structure, everybody thinks, oh, shut up, you're a dick, you know, whatever. Whereas if everybody's got little bits that they can bring to the table, you know that you're getting the best out of it, because everybody wants to succeed. You know, most people aren't saying things just for shits and giggles. They're actually saying it because they feel that this could help us, like this make us go better. And that was what it was, you know, like, and so, you know, a lot of the time it was just focused on the little things that could make us better and faster. But we just had to work together because we were two completely different people. And probably what worked very, very well for us was the fact that when we got together, when we were at training, we had 100% in each trust in each other. Right. So turn up and we're basically just hooked to the hip while we're training, while we're doing everything, not letting each other down. And then when we left, we went, I'll see you tomorrow. You know, there was no like, let's go get a beer tonight, let's go to the cafe, have a coffee. We very much did keep it quite strictly business, even though Hamish is a very, very good friend. I just wouldn't like lump him with my issues or my problems. You know, we'd chat obviously and have a very healthy, like, I guess, relationship in terms of that. But we just made sure that you can try and keep that conflict resolution out of that equation by not living in each other's pockets so much, and just making sure that when we both needed time, if things weren't going well, that you weren't sitting there like looking across from each other going, it's all your fault, it's my fault. And so that was probably one of the big keys as well, is making sure we had time together with all the trust, but then time apart where we could just like decompress. And that's what kept us really well. That's why we never ever had any like people I still look at it, right? I'm like, I rode with this guy for like 9 years and we roomed together in Europe and everything. And we never had this. We never had any like, you know, I hate you, you know, let's, you know, whatever. And I think it just falls back to that respect, that trust, and knowing that we're both, at the end of the day, we both wanted to win. And we both looked at it as that we couldn't do it with the team of people, without the team of people that was around us. Like I couldn't get another rower, Hamish couldn't get another rower. We couldn't, all the people that we had, our strength, our trainers, our coach, everybody were the best people that we thought were going to get us to that end goal. And that's how we had to work at it.
I love that. One of the, I use this analogy a lot when I get asked about our team, about the ASENSEI team. And I kind of describe us as Ocean's 11. You know, you've got the safecracker, the confidence trickster, the gymnast, you know, and all these different backgrounds. But I think one of the things you kind of like touched on there is like, how do you get all of these people aligned? Is, well, you give them something to align around. And for you, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, not straightforward in effort, but it's very clear-minded, like we're going to win. And that everyone in the team kind of rallies around that vision. I think the last question here before we move on from this part is, do you have any specific example of how the whole was greater than the parts? How, like, if it wasn't you and Hamish, like there was, I hate that expression 1 + 1 = 10 or 1 + 1 = 3. But any thoughts there?
Well, like you mean like having the team, you know, everybody that like,
the blend of the way you think about things and the way you're...
I'm trying to think about it. There was like, probably the biggest thing was we had a physiologist who was our trainer, you know, and he just came in, he had come in sort of 2010 and worked with our coach, but the coach was very stubborn and he was just like, this is how I do it. I'm the boss, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then when he got the reins cleared up, because we got a new coach involved and stuff like that, he's like, right, I want to show my PhD in physiology. And he's like, this is how we're going to train from now on. And so we started doing less rowing on the water. Okay, hear me out. We started doing less, but we actually started getting like more specific training focus on our physiology. So our new focus became less is more. So we started having the whole conversation around efficiencies and making sure that we did what we needed to very, very well. So we would come down to training in the mornings. We'd only row once a day. So we've gone away from this like 250 Ks a week to being like 140. But we made a very, very good job of it. But then when we were training in the afternoon, it was very specific and target focused. It was on the rowing machine to a point of hitting certain splits for a certain period of time with heart rate, you know, monitoring, or sitting on the bike for 2 hours, going out on the road and doing sprints and all this. So we actually got fitter by doing that program than it was just historically, you've just got to do this, right? The cliches are the obvious, you've got to do a 40-hour week. Why?
Right.
You know, could you not do everything very well in 32 hours and work 4 days? You know, like, and that was, we basically started like that in our sport, to a point where people were getting a little bit antsy in our team, because like, here's Hamish and I rowing once a day, but we're going really fast.
Right.
And so we created an issue and a problem where people were like, why can't we do that as well? And,
Right.
you know, and then you're sitting down with the CEO and he's like, you guys aren't setting a very good example. And I'm like, why aren't we setting a good example? He's like, yeah, because everybody thinks that you're not doing enough training and whatever. And I'm like, here's our results, pal. Like, we're going faster than anybody else. Maybe you guys should be thinking about what we're doing, but you're in a position where you've got to build experience first, and then you can ask for those goods around you. And that was one that it always stuck out to me. And even now, like, the CEO's gone to another company, but I've joked with him a couple of times about that. And he said that he was getting so much pressure on him from everybody and all the other coaches, that there was quite a bit of animosity towards us, because everybody thought we were just not doing as much training, but in matter of fact, we were actually doing more volume than anybody else. They just never saw the other part of the volume that was coming.
Right.
Yeah, and basically that's probably one of the keys. Is it's like, you know, what you see, you can see all this time and all this effort that people are getting, but there's a lot of other stuff that comes into that equation, which makes you good. And you
relevant.
find,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
so relevant to so much of what's going on right now. We're seeing like Elon Musk take over Twitter and be in the office at 1 a.m. and it's that illusion of if you're at your desk and it's late at night. And I think those of us that have, you know, a little later in our careers are like, it's just not sustainable. And like, you know, even a 40-hour week, you're tired by the end of the week and you're not doing your best work. And it's good to hear, you know, high performance athletes saying the same thing. So I want to move on a little bit, Eric. I'm going to watch another